Alright, so it's now day 5 of the 30-day scripting challenge, and right now we're on week 1. We're almost done with week 1, and then it gets harder with week 2. So, I don't think I mentioned this in any of the other week 1 videos, but week 1 is called Polished Fundamentals, and they're very simple concepts, but they're portfolio ready. So, you know. Day 5 is going to be a shop/inventory system with no data saving. So we'll get into data stores and this thing called profile service, I believe next week, I think? No, in week 3. That's when we get into data stores and profile service. So if you can see here, I have a GUI button called shop right here. I've made a UI, just a simple shop UI. You can see it here if you want to pause the video and look at the Explorer. It just has two items that have an object value called purchase, which is going to be, its value is going to be an item, in this case a tool or an accessory, and then a cost value, which is how many gems the item will cost. And that's it for the UI setup. We're going to go make a local script inside of the GUI, and we're going to call this shop client because this is what the client is going to have on their end. Now we're first going to get the buttons right here in the shop. We're going to do that. So we're just going to say local open shop is going to go to script.parent.open shop, and then local shop frame is going to equal to script.parent.shop. Now we're going to get the buttons. So for underscore button in shop frame get children do. If button is a text button, then we're gonna check if it's activated. So here we go, we have the button. We're not gonna check if the player clicks it. So button.activated. We're going to connect that to a function, and then we're going to run our communication logic here. So this is something important that I want to talk about with GUIs. If you ever want to check for if a user interface item is clicked, use .activated, because this is global, meaning it works for any input on the button, right? I know there's things like mouse button 1 down and mouse button 2 down, so I click button.mouse button 1 up, 2 up, 1 down, 2 down, right? And then, right, so that's for only people who are on computer and have a mouse. We want this to work for both mobile and controller players if you guys ever want to have support for that, because it saves a lot of time than doing button.touch tap connect function. It saves you a lot of time because button.activated, it'll check it for all inputs, not just one specific input, which is why we're going to use .activated instead of .mouse button 1 down. Now there's also some certain specific use cases where if you want to check if the player hovers their cursor over a certain GUI instance, then you'd also want to do that, but this is for if you're just checking button presses. Alright, now we're going to do a couple of checks here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to check if the player has enough gems, and then we're going to purchase the item. So local cost is going to equal to button dot find first child cost dot value. Now if cost doesn't exist, this will error. So what we'll do is we're going to add an and here, and button find first child cost dot value. So what this means is cost will only equal this statement right here only if this one is true. So it's like an if statement within a variable. So if it can't find cost inside the button, then cost won't equal this value, and then it'll error safely. So then we're now going to check if the player has enough. So I think there's a value we're going to pass in. No, we can't. Okay. So we're going to get the local player. So local player is going to game.players.localPlayer, and then local gems is going to equal to player wait for child leader stats wait for child gems. So if you weren't here in day one, we made a simple leader stats module, not module, but system like this, where we have a value called gems, which is going to be the player's currency that we're going to use to determine if they can buy stuff from the shop or not. So we wait for that, and now we're going to check here. If gems and gems.value is greater than or equal to cost, then we're going to purchase it, right? So this is if the cost is greater, that means we're gonna buy it. Or actually, we're gonna get to this part in a second here. We're gonna make some logic gates. And to do this, we're gonna set up what's called a dictionary. And to set up a dictionary, we're going to create a table right here outside of this for loop, and we're going to call it local states. And we're going to have that equal a table. Now, inside of this thing, when we have the button, we're going to do states, and then to add an item to the dictionary, we're going to put brackets, and we're going to say states button. So it's going to reference the button inside of the states table is going to equal to states button, or a blank table where it's going to have two values: purchased, which will equal to a boolean, which will be false, whoops, and then equipped, which will equal to false as well. So what this little statement here does is it initializes a dictionary. So this button goes into the dictionary, and then it has these two values created for it. Now we set the button to equal what it is right now, and if it doesn't exist, we set it to a table, which will initialize it. Now, sorry, my voice is getting a bit stuffy. I'm currently sick right now. I think I got like a cold or something, so I apologize for if it's a bit hard for me to understand. I'll try to get captions running for the video, so if you want to turn those on, you could hear me or understand what I'm saying a bit better. So once we have this dictionary created, we're now going to run a check here. So if states button dot purchased is equal to true, then we're going to equip it, right? We're gonna equip the item. So we're gonna set states. So if it's already purchased, we're gonna check if it's equipped. So actually, we can just put an and statement here. And states, actually no, we can do that here. If states button dot equipped is equal to true, then we're going to unequip it. So states button dot equipped will equal to false. Else if states button dot equipped, actually we can just say, we can do not. I forgot I explained this. We don't have to do equals is true. We can just say not. So if it's not equipped, then we're going to equip it. So states button dot equipped will equal to true. And that's it for this little block here. So else if not states button dot purchased, then we're going to purchase it. So states button dot purchase will equal to true, and then states button dot equipped will equal to true. So really quickly, just to explain what this will do, in case it's a bit confusing, we're going to look inside the dictionary, and we're going to see if this purchase value is equal to true. If it is equal to true, then we're going to check if it's equipped. If it is equipped, then we're going to unequip it. If it's not equipped, then we're going to equip it. Now, if it's not purchased, we're going to set its purchase value to equal to true, and then equip it. But we're only going to do that if the player has enough money for it. So we're going to add an if statement here. If gems and gems.value is greater than cost, then we're going to equip it and then set the states. Now, from here, when we equip it, we're going to want to tell the server to equip it for us. So we're going to make a remote event inside replicated storage, and we're going to call this event purchase. And now let's reference that event right here. So we're going to say local replicated storage is equal to game.replicated storage, and then local purchase event is going to equal to replicated storage dot purchase. Sometimes I use camel case and sometimes I don't. To those wondering, camel case basically means the first word is uncapitalized, and then every word after that is capitalized. That's why it's called camel case. I use it. Some people don't, but just for people who are wondering how I do my variables. So everywhere where we're gonna have the equipped value changed, we're gonna call this remote event. So then right down here, we're going to say purchase event fire server, and then purchase event fire server, and then down here, purchase event fire server. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna make a server script inside server script service, and we're gonna call that shop server right here, shop server, and we're gonna copy over the replicated storage variables right here and put them in. We're gonna say purchase event on server event connect function. The player is passed by default, and then we're going to have some other values passed through as well. So first, we're going to want to deduct the value from the player's gems. So we'll do that here. So we're going to get the player's gems. So local, and then actually we can copy this over right here. Copy this and put you right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to send over the cost value. In this case, we're going to send cost right here. So because we're purchasing it right here, this is where we're purchasing it, we're going to send the cost over. So we'll add an if conditional. So if cost, then gems, and then we'll do if cost and gems, then gems.value will minus equal the costs. And then once that's done, we're going to want to add the item to the player. So we're going to actually have another variable passed, which is going to be the item. Now the reason why we put the item in replicated storage is so that both the client and the server can access it, instead of putting it inside of the GUI itself, which is where the object value comes into play. So because we are equipping it, we're going to send over the button dot. Actually, we're going to initialize this thing here. So local item is going to equal to button find first child purchase, and button find first child purchase dot value. In this case, I named the object value purchase to show what the item will be. And then it'll send the cost, and then the item, because we are equipping it. So in the right here, because we're equipping it again in this line, we're just going to send nil because we don't want a cost because it's already purchased, and then the item value again. So another if statement down here. If item, then you're going to check if the item is a tool. If item or as a matter of fact, we're not going to check if the item is a tool or an accessory. We're just going to look in both the player's backpack and the character and just remove it if it's there. And we'll do that with an or statement. So if we find it in either one, well, in this case, if the player has the key equipped, yeah, we'll still remove it. So we're gonna check if player dot character find first child item dot name, or player dot backpack find first child item dot name, then player dot character. Oh, actually, no, we don't have to put an if statement here. I'm super sorry about that. We're just going to make two variables here. Local tool is going to equal to player dot backpack find first child item dot name, and then local accessory is going to equal to player dot character find first child item dot name. So this is if we're removing it, by the way, which I probably should have done after. I just got carried away. We'll add a third variable called removing, if item and removing then. So in this case where we're unequipping it, we're going to send nil item and then true, because this is where we're unequipping it. So nil item false, and then there we go. So this is if we're removing it. If tool or accessory, then tool destroy and accessory destroy. Or actually, we could have this: if tool, then tool destroy. If accessory, no, not ac. If accessory, then accessory colon destroy. And this is for our deletion here. Now we're gonna add the adding. So if item and not removing then, and then we can actually merge this into an else if statement. Just delete that right here. So if the item exists and it's not removing it, then we're first gonna check if it already exists, because it shouldn't technically exist in the player because it won't exist when we're removing it. So we're just gonna do a check here. So we're gonna copy these lines over, and as a matter of fact, no, we'll just do that. You can move these outside into its own like global variable so that both of these can use it without having these lines being duplicated, but that's something that can be added. So if tool, if tool or accessory, then, so if it finds a tool or accessory, we're just going to return because it already exists and we don't want to duplicate it. Else if not tool or not accessory, then we're going to clone it. So local tool to clone, or actually we'll just call it tool clone. Oh no, we're gonna do a check actually. If item colon is if it's a tool, then local clone is going to equal to replicated storage dot items colon find first child item dot name. Wait, no, I made another mistake. Wait, actually, I don't think I did. Yeah, no. We're fine. We can just say local clone is equal to item colon clone, and then just to give it some values, we're gonna do colon instance, so we'll get some context here. And instance is just any like thing in general, so it'll give us some context here. And then clone dot parent is going to equal to player dot backpack. Else if item colon is a accessory, then local clone is going to equal to item colon clone, and then clone dot parent is going to equal to player dot character. Now we can move both of these lines outside and just check if the clone is a tool or an accessory, or we could just say local clone and then have clone be assigned to this. But for simplicity, I mean not simplicity, just for ease of access, we're gonna do it like this, though it can be moved outside and optimized. It's a small adjustment, but you know what I mean. And that should be it for this code. Now this is gonna run every time, even if we're equipping it and unequipping it. So we're going to add a third value, which is going to be called purchasing. So we're gonna send a fourth value called purchasing, and they're not going to be included here. So we're just gonna put false, and it'll go right here, and it will be called purchasing. So if cost and gems and purchasing, then we're going to take away the gems. And that should be it for the shop system. Wait, no, not it. I forgot to make it visible. Whoops. We're just going to add a little thing up here. Open shop.activated connect function, and then shop frame.visible is going to equal to not shop frame.visible. So what this not means is it's going to be the opposite of what it is. So if it's visible, then it'll set it to invisible. If it's invisible, it'll set it to visible. So it'll set it to the opposite of what it currently is. And that'll be ready. So if I click on the shop, it'll open it, and I click on it again, it'll close it. So now let's click on the key, and there we go, we have the key. And it is now subtracted 10 gems from my account. And if I click it again, it should remove it. Just like that. And I'll click on the key again, it'll give it back to us, but it won't take away any of our gems. And if I hold the key out, it'll be in our character. Click it, it'll put it away. And then backpack, if I equip that, you can see the backpack here, and then click it again, the backpack will disappear, and it won't subtract gems. Now one final thing we can do is just have the text say some certain things. So we're going to have the status, so local status. Status is going to equal to the button, colon, find first child, status, and then we're now going to set its text. So status dot text is going to equal to unequipped. We'll just give you a text label right there. and then status, not states, status.text will go into equal to equipped, and then status.text is going to equal to purchased. So now I can go in here, run off the shop, click this, it'll say purchased, click this, it'll say purchased, and then now it'll say unequipped. Again, it'll say equipped, unequipped, equipped. Perfect. And then from here, you could like have the text, the background color, like change color. So I can make it green when it's purchased or red when it's unequipped. It's super simple. So I could just go here. I can say status.background color 3 is going to equal to color 3.from RGB. And then I will set you to this green here. Hello, green. Okay. And then we'll have it also be here. And then we'll put it under here for when it's unequipped. We'll have it set to this like gray color. And then by default, we're going to have it be just plain white. So now we can hop in and we can open up the shop, buy it, it'll say purchased, buy it, it'll say purchased, and then unequip it, it'll say unequipped. And yeah. So from our door video, this is the key that we need to open this door. So now I can open the door. As you can see, the key works just fine, because this is the key that we defined this door to only open when the player has this equipped. And I can click the gem here and it'll add 1 gem to my balance, which we can use to buy stuff from the shop. So that's it for day 5 of the 30-day scripting challenge. I hope this video made sense to anyone who is trying to make a shop system for a game of theirs, like a simulator game where the player can buy pets from the shop. Now, a couple things here. This table that we're making, this dictionary, by default, it's going to have to look at the player data, because the player data is going to tell us if the player has already purchased it or not. Because right now, if the player bought something and then left the game and rejoined, then they'd have to buy it again, but the money of the player also wouldn't save because we're not putting it in a data store. We'll get into data store saving on week 3, and as a matter of fact, it's day 15 when we get to the data stores. So a quick recap, we just have some logic here with the logic gates of this dictionary we created, where it'll run through some conditionals to check if the player bought it, has it equipped, or if they need to unequip it. And then we have a remote event here that will send over the player, the cost of the item itself, if they're removing the item, and if they're purchasing it. And then we run through a couple of more if conditionals where we determine if we need to add the item to the player's inventory or take it away from their inventory, depending on what we're sending over to the server. And one closing note I'd like to add here is client to server communication, which is what we're doing here with this remote event, purchase event : fire server. It's very dangerous because the client is telling the server that we were able to buy this item. Like, we have enough money to buy it, so we're going to tell the server we want to buy it. There's no verification that we're doing here on the server to verify the client can actually buy it. So what you could do, another like safety check, is you can pretty much determine if they actually have enough gems. So you can add a server check right here to if gems dot value is greater than or equal to cost then. So now the server is going to verify that the player actually has enough gems. We're not going to trust the client to verify it, so it'll be double authenticated. But then the player could also just fire this remote event, saying, hey, the cost is 0, and the item we want to get is like super like overpowered item. So it's important that you be careful with remote events for client server. Now, I'm not going to include the safeguards on how you can have different ways to send this over to the server. This is a very default method, and there are like third-party like things that you could use. Now, this is a pretty advanced, and people might not get what I'm going to say here, but there is a package you could use called Networker that is pretty much a safe alternative to remote events that function exactly like remote events. And then there's another packet which is just called Packeter. Sorry, did I say package? Package, not packet, called Packeter, and it's also an alternative to remote events that are a lot safer. So that's all for this video. Enough yapping from me. If you did find this helpful, I'm happy because I'm also trying to help people while I'm doing this. I don't think I'll put this in a paste bin. It's something that I believe can just be like looked off of from these two scripts alone, and then it can have improvements made off of. Like the client side is only like 55 lines, and then the server side is only 38 lines. So it's not too complicated. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great day. Use a system, build off of it, make some cool optimizations. And yeah, if I helped you, I'm happy. So have a great rest of your